Welcome to the new episode of MKTG Mindset, episode 9. Today, we are really unpacking what feels like a fundamental and honestly probably irreversible shift in content strategy. That's the widespread adoption of the GEO funnel, or Generative Engine Optimization. The source material we're looking at is, I think, essential reading for any strategist right now because it clearly establishes that GEO doesn't replace traditional SEO, but it builds upon it. Yet, the data they present, and this is key, conversion rates 4.4 times higher from AI search traffic compared to, traditional organic clicks. That creates an unavoidable strategic tension. And that's really where we need to focus.
Absolutely. Yeah, the tension is palpable. You can really feel it in the data.
So the central question for us today is pretty straightforward. Does the undeniable effectiveness, and frankly the necessity, of generative engine optimization mean that our primary strategic priority must now pivot toward optimizing for AI citation? Or, does traditional SEO remain the non-negotiable strategic foundation that, absolutely must be secured first? I'm going to contend that the highest and most immediate commercial value, now lies squarely in GEO, demanding that it take strategic precedence. The market has shifted. Our strategy really has to follow the dollars here.
Okay, I see where you're coming from, but I come at it from a slightly different angle. While I fully agree that GEO is undeniably critical, it is the modern execution layer for content delivery, no doubt. We just cannot strategically elevate the tactic, above the foundation. SEO remains the essential foundational priority, precisely because of the causality you mentioned earlier, the underlying authority, the quality of your backlink profile, and the structural integrity that enables content to be considered trustworthy by a complex AI model. These are prerequisites, right? If you don't have that deep SEO authority, well, all the GEO tactics in the world won't get you cited by a generative engine. It's as simple as that, I think.
I see why you think that, focusing on those prerequisite conditions. But let me give you a different perspective, rooted purely in commercial return and, frankly, risk. In the current environment, the strategic focus must shift to optimizing content for AI citation and inclusion. Why? Because, that is where the highest conversion value resides. The evidence is, frankly, overwhelming. AI search traffic converts at 4.4 times the rate of traditional organic traffic. That conversion gap, is like a lighthouse pointing directly at where resources and strategic thinking need to be directed. We need to fundamentally redesign our content architecture to optimize for the bottom of the funnel, the BOFU, where AI is increasingly facilitating or, even delivering the buying decision. This means prioritizing conversational, precise, and clearly answering content optimized specifically for AI output. Traditional SEO drives clicks via rankings. GEO builds visibility and authority in AI answers, often even without a click being registered in the traditional sense. That visibility, driven by highly structured conversational content tailored to generative models, that's the new high-revenue path to authority.
That's a compelling argument regarding conversion metrics. I'll give you that, and one that absolutely impacts tactical deployment. But have you considered the causality from the perspective of the machine itself? GEO is a crucial execution layer, yes, but traditional SEO remains the foundational strategy. The source material confirms what we already know deep down. Authority, backlinks, and comprehensive structure still matter a lot. AI citation isn't granted simply because content is conversational. It relies on signals established over time. Lumar's GEO toolkit explicitly states that AI inclusion is based on, and I quote, authority signals, schema, and EEAT. And I really want to stress that last part, EEAT. Those signals, they're inherited from rigorous long-term SEO practice. If your domain lacks fundamental SEO authority, if it hasn't established deep EEAT and a strong, diverse backlink profile, it will never reach the threshold of being deemed reliable enough to be cited by an AI, regardless of how perfectly you structured it for a quick conversational answer.
Strategic prioritization posit has to follow the logical sequence of trust validation, and that begins fundamentally with SEO.
Okay, I agree completely that the concepts of authority and structure are shared requirements. But the strategic definition of success is changed so dramatically that it must dictate priority. We are living in a world where, 58% of consumers now rely on AI for recommendations. Authority, in this new context, it's no longer solely about ranking on page 1 and getting a click. It's about being featured as the definitive, trusted reference within the AI output itself. This mandate being cited dictates a primary strategic focus on the mechanics of AI understanding. We are talking about implementing comprehensive structured content, specific schema markup, and ensuring immediate authoritative answers right there in the content. The traditional SEO approach optimizes for, let's be honest, a legacy robot to rank you. The GEO approach optimizes for a dynamic generative engine to cite you as the verified answer. And since the latter delivers the 4.4x conversion, we must strategically design the entire content production workflow around achieving that citation. That has to be the priority.
I acknowledge the massive shift in consumer reliance on AI, absolutely. But let's delve into what actually secures that trusted reference status. That validation pause is secured by the quality of the underlying SEO, specifically those EEAT signals we talked about. The AI is a complex system. It's not simply looking for schema tags and calling it a day. It uses those tags as cues, sure, but it validates the content's credibility against the domain's established history, its expertise, its authority. Your focus on structured content and schema feels tactical. It's execution. Necessary for GEO, yes, I concede that. But the strategic decision, the big picture, is building the core domain authority that the AI must first crawl and validate for discovery and inclusion. If we chase the tactic, the perfectly formatted answer, without committing the strategic resources to building that domain-level trust, the content is merely well-formatted data points that a responsible generative model will likely discard because it simply cannot trust the source. We have to secure the foundation for the AI to even consider it trustworthy enough to cite.
Okay, but I think we're maybe conflating two different types of friction here. You are rightly concerned with the friction of trust building, which is slow, that's SEO. I am concerned with the friction of visibility and conversion, which is immediate, that's GEO. So let's talk about resource allocation for a second. If we accept the premise that SEO and GEO must work hand in hand, where does the strategic money go first?
It goes to the foundation. It has to. Investing heavily in geotactics, creating intricate BOFU optimization or hyper-conversational content before securing robust domain authority and structure is, I think, strategically flawed. Think of the operational burden. If we spend resources structuring content that the AI won't index or trust effectively because the EEAT is low, that is just wasted effort. Strategic allocation demands stabilizing the prerequisite before enhancing the outcome. I mean, why invest in a precision guidance system if the delivery vehicle itself is deemed unreliable by the recipient? It doesn't make sense.
That's an interesting point about the sequence of investment, but I would frame the resource debate differently. Given that GEO adoption is rising rapidly among agencies and brands, and critically, the source material indicates that robust GEO benefits actually boost traditional rankings too, maybe the initial strategic plan should be GEO first. Here's the efficiency argument. By optimizing specifically for the GEO Funnel's TOFU, which focuses on achieving snippet visibility and initial AI discovery, and then the MOFU, which is about comparison and establishing credibility through clear data presentation, one simultaneously optimizes for the kind of highly structured, clearly answered content that inherently addresses technical SEO requirements anyway, right? So if GEO practices improve SEO outcomes while delivering vastly superior conversion rates, then the GEO approach becomes the most efficient and commercially valuable primary strategy. It effectively folds necessary structural SEO work into its high-value framework. It's actually an acceleration strategy.
I challenge that notion of efficiency, though. You're suggesting that the structural gains are somehow enough to substitute for the deep authority gains. But technical schema implementation is only one facet of SEO authority. Domain-level authority pause is a slow burn asset. It's built through sustained link equity and demonstratable EEAT over time. While geo-focused content may be well-structured, if the domain hosting it lacks that fundamental link equity, the content's chance of being validated and cited by a generative model remains minimal. We risk building a beautiful GEO funnel on quicksand. And furthermore, let's touch back on the operational burden you mentioned. Scaling content creation that requires hyper-specific schema, immediate clarity, and BOFU focus for AI citation is highly resource-intensive compared to standard content creation. If we divert, say, 80% of our resources to this precision GEO work, and that content only has a maybe 10% chance of being cited due to insufficient underlying authority signals, pause. That feels like a profound strategic misallocation of resources.
You raise a fair point. On the operational cost of precision content, I won't deny that. However, we must consider the strategic risk of delaying GEO adoption. While SEO authority builds slowly, the generative engine market is moving incredibly rapidly. If we wait for the perfect EEAT foundation, our competitors who adopt GEO first are already capitalizing on that 4.4x conversion rate. Pause right now. We risk sacrificing immediate, high-value conversion for long-term stability that honestly might not even be relevant given the speed of technological change. And if we accept that 58% of consumers rely on AI for recommendations, the risk of invisibility is immediate and potentially commercially terminal. This brings us back to the ultimate threat outlined in the material. Pause. Invisibility. In the AI-first world, if your content is not structured for GEO, you're invisible.
And what is the prerequisite for that structure to matter? That's where we disagree on the strategic emphasis, isn't it?
That invisibility, the complete omission from the highest converting channel, that 4.4x opportunity we keep mentioning, that has to be the primary strategic driver. We must design content architecture specifically to combat that invisibility, which in the generative world means optimizing for citation, not merely ranking. It means writing for the answer box, pause, not the blue link.
I agree wholeheartedly that invisibility is the greatest risk facing marketers today. No question. However, we must be precise about what prevents that invisibility. The structure required for GEO is a necessary tactical step, yes, but it must sit on a bedrock of SEO-established domain authority. The strategic error, as I see it, is confusing the necessary tactical execution structuring for citation with the foundational strategy, earning the domain trust that makes citation possible in the first place. If AI discovery and validation relies heavily on EEAT and link authority signals, then the only responsible strategy pause is prioritizing the generation and maintenance of those signals first.
I see the foundational argument, I really do, but I prioritize the destination. The dramatic shift in consumer behavior, where nearly 60% rely on AI for recommendations, combined with the fact that AI-driven traffic converts at 4.4x, Posit just proves that strategic priority must shift to the content architecture that maximizes AI citation. It's about featuring the brand as that trusted resource, leveraging the GEO funnel structure to drive immediate and powerful commercial results. You know, if the foundation is strong, the house is stable, sure, but if the front door is invisible, the stability is commercially meaningless.
And my reflection remains focused on maybe intellectual rigor here. The importance of distinguishing between the mechanism of dissemination, the GEO structure that formats the answer, and the mechanism of trust and validation, the SEO authority that proves the answer is credible. We are discussing fundamental strategic deployment. And in strategy, generally, the foundation precedes the function. Authority is the prerequisite that kind of gates access to that 4.4x opportunity. We should absolutely target the opportunity, but we must first secure the entry ticket, so to speak.
Well, the source materials certainly successfully highlights the critical integrated nature of both SEO and GEO in modern content strategy. It forces us all to reconsider how we weigh the strategic prioritization of, established authority signals versus the mechanics of AI inclusion. We are no longer debating whether both are necessary, but where the first dollar and the most critical strategic focus must land.
It certainly does. It reminds us that we have to be sophisticated enough to manage both the long-term, slow-burn investment of SEO and the immediate high-precision requirements of GEO. probably simultaneously. This is a conversation that I suspect will only grow more complex as generative engine behaviors continue to evolve.
Thank you for listening. If you have any opinion, please leave it in the comments, and don't forget to hit subscription.